Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for yet another live with one of our nominees for the Restore Awards. We at Rachna Restores are extremely proud to present our annual health awards, the Restore Awards, on the 11th of December 2021. Today, we are going to meet one of our nominees, all the way from Oslo, Norway, Indo Naturals. We are going to be in conversation with Frederick Kondrup, and I can see he's online, and I'm going to just add him to this live. Hi,
Hi,
Fred. So good to see you. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm in Rishikesh
And
for
how
my
are you enjoying the Indian climate? I believe you're in India right now.
yeah, I'm in Rishikesh. So here it's actually a really nice climate, kind of like a Norwegian summer. So it's
Yeah,
perfect.
I'm sure. Okay, just before we get into our discussion, let me just do a quick recap of why we are here and say hello to all our viewers. So, everyone, like I mentioned before Frederick joined in, we at Rachna Restores are extremely proud to present our annual health awards. The Restore Awards are going to be live streamed on the 11th of December 2021. These awards globally recognize the work of healers, wellness organizations, and sustainable initiatives. This year, the theme for our awards is preventive health, immunity, and sustainability. I am so glad to have Frederick Kondrup, founder and CEO of Indo Naturals, to be our nominee under the category Sustainable Product Lifestyle. Frederick is based in Oslo, Norway, and he holds an international degree in international management and a master's in economics. The team of Indo Naturals, under his leadership, strives to make sustainable living easy and exciting. And what they do is through zero waste products, ethically and rurally made in rural India. All right, Frederick?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so let's begin by talking about the sustainable development goals. What are these? Because we hear so much about sustainability and, there's for the layman. So, what are these goals? Who created them? And yeah, so let's hear it from you.
Mm. Yeah. So UN has created 17 goals,
Yeah,
uh, where you have, well, it's everything from environment to society, cities and rural areas, oceans and jungles and the forests and everything in between, basically.
yeah,
Under each goal, there is several under goals. So if you
yeah,
really want to look into it, you can go in and kind of check out the sub goals under each goal.
perfect.
So that's very interesting, and they have different time frames to reach those. And I think it's a great setup because it really gives the whole world the same picture of where we want to reach, you know. So
Yeah,
it's kind of a common platform to see how we can progress together
yeah,
in the world, and that's also a lot of how we're thinking in Indo Naturals, how we can collaborate Europe
yeah.
and India to achieve sustainable development.
Perfect. So, what drew us to your brand is the fact that you talk about sustainability synergy. And can you elaborate a little more on that?
Mm. So I really believe that to achieve these sustainable development goals, we have to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that when we're fighting to achieve one of them, we're not
Mm-hmm.
causing anything negative in other of these
Mm-hmm.
goals. So if we produce a sustainable, environmentally sustainable product, for example, it can't have the cast a shadow of actually, creating
Yeah.
inequality, exploiting people. So
Yeah.
we really have to try to, even though it gets very complicated, we have to try to incorporate both environment and society, both people and planet, when
Yeah.
we are making the products. And with our synergy, we're working to on the production end to create rural employment, rural development,
Yeah.
and on the consumption end to help the consumers reduce the plastic consumption. And then they also end up obviously supporting
Yeah.
the producers and creating a livelihood for them.
Perfect. So, what drew you to sustainability, and how did you start this journey of sustainability, and how did you
Mm.
think of making this into a business? I mean, of course, you have a background in economics. So, was
Mm.
that your starting point, or how did this journey begin?
I think I always been very interested in it. I think it's really exciting to create something and to create new things that are sustainable. And that's something I think that was in me from I was quite
Yeah,
young,
yeah,
thinking about solar panels, being very excited about these new solutions.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, that drove me to start it now. I mean, everyone can do something to achieve the sustainable development goals in their daily life, but what I have, the knowledge and kind of expertise that I have is within business, and that's why I, have that opportunity to start in the naturals and drive that forward.
yes. I'm going to ask you more about how businesses can be more sustainable and why it is important for businesses to take upon them to be sustainable. But
Mm.
before we go there, why India and what drew you there? So yes,
Mm.
that is the question.
Yeah, as I said, I was interested in sustainability from I was young, but I didn't exactly know what I was going to do within sustainability. I
Mm-hmm.
actually came to India in 2018 for a traineeship at the Norwegian consulate in Mumbai.
Oh, okay.
And there I was working with Afra Shah. He's activist for beach cleanup and also just general plastic cleanup around India and in
Yeah.
Mumbai. I was also working with up towards like rural development, going to seminars and hearing more about that. And I learned and I saw that there's so many natural resources in India uh,
Yeah.
flourishing around rural areas. And I also learned that there's a huge rural population where there's a lot of knowledge of how to use these
Yeah.
resources.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting. And I know that in Europe, we're per capita, we're definitely consuming a lot more
Yeah.
synthetics and plastic.
Yeah.
So why not kind of work together to to collaborate on creating product solutions to reduce plastic and at the same time create livelihood.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that was where it all started.
Interesting, interesting. And I also see that you have a mission to save the oceans. So, something more about that? I mean, how did you pick that? I mean, when we go through your website, I see a lot of most of your employees are interested in the ocean animals, whether it's a blue
Mm.
sea whale or something like that. So, yes, a little more about that.
Yeah, so the oceans are basically 70% of the planet,
Yeah.
and I think more than half of the CO2 are being made into back into oxygen again through the oceans. They
Mm-hmm.
really will depend completely on the oceans to battle against climate change as well. So if the health of the ocean decreases, then we're also seeing more CO2 coming in the atmosphere. And so that's just completely vital that we protect the oceans. And I was seeing that, with India having a huge amount of natural resources that can be made into zero waste products. That was an opportunity I wanted to look into, and that's how Indonaturals was created.
Interesting. I want to ask you one more question, because when we come with sustainability and using sustainable products, do you need to be rich? And I ask
Mm.
this because a lot of sustainable stuff which we see is pretty
Mm.
expensive to the
Yeah.
common man. So does one really need to be rich to try to be sustainable or lead a sustainable lifestyle?
Mm. Yeah, that's something that I saw from a really early stage as well, that it's kind of elitish because it's very expensive and it's also not that accessible. So you have to have maybe more time in your daily life as well to find them. You have to have more money to spend on sustainable products often. And that's something you're really trying to fight for by making Indonaturals effective in the background to
Yeah,
really reduce as much cost as we can.
yeah,
When it comes to the wage of the workers, that's obviously something we don't compromise with at all.
yeah,
And I mean, we will never be competing with bad labor practices or slave labor, basically.
yeah,
But we are really working hard to have good prices. Sometimes the prices will be a bit higher, but if the product lasts double the time, then obviously it can also be double the price basically. And our product
yeah.
often comes with other benefits as well next to what, or compared to the alternative. So then you get that in addition. So it becomes a little bit more of an investment when you want to consume sustainable products, because it might cost a bit more,
Think.
but then it lasts longer. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, we're saying everybody can practice sustainability at uh, each levels. So can you give
Mm.
us some examples of how to live sustainably? Some examples of a sustainable living. How can a
Yeah,
common man and not really spend on expensive
yeah.
products, but how can you practice sustainability at home?
Yeah, so the absolute first thing for sustainability is to reduce. And that doesn't make much, maybe not much sense for me to say when I'm the one selling products, but reduction is really the number one, I would say.
Yeah,
But that can be done by not buying something we don't necessarily need, but it can also be done in buying things that last longer, so and
yeah,
ultimately and buy less. And then it's finding these products that when we talk about sustainability, it has to, as we're doing, incorporate both the workers and the social components and the environment. So
yeah,
buying things that are fair trade, where you
yeah,
can see into transparency, the brand is transparent about how it's
yeah,
made, compostability, that you can recycle the product.
yeah.
Yeah, these things are key.
Yeah, and also reuse a lot of products, right? So yes,
Yeah.
reduce and reuse, and of course
Mm.
recycle. So I also know that you love to travel a lot. So what
Mm.
is the most sustainable way to travel? Because
Yeah.
everybody, you just ask anybody what do they love, and everybody says, "Oh, I love traveling,"
Mm.
But yeah, how can we make travel more sustainable?
Yeah, that's obviously a challenging one, and even though I run a sustainable lifestyle company, I'm not perfect at all myself, and I've traveled a lot, and
Yeah,
probably have, to be completely honest, probably have a higher CO2 emissions than maybe
yeah,
average even. So because of this traveling, what I try to do when I travel is to really stay for a long time. I never go on kind of a like go to take the flight to go somewhere to just have a meeting or attend a conference for a couple of days and then go back. That's
Okay.
something I never do. Now I've actually been in India for almost 3 months.
Wow.
And that's how I plan on, maybe not 3 months every time, but that's how I
Yeah.
plan on kind of gathering a lot of meetings, and then going, to the place I'm going and staying there for a longer period and getting several things done at once. I think it's a good way, at least to travel for business, and
Yeah.
then traveling as tourism. I think is also kind of similar, that you can go on a longer trip, take local transport. I'm
Yeah.
traveling with the trains and the buses internally in India mostly. Sometimes I have to take a domestic flight as well, but yeah.
Perfect. That's a nice way where you go for, especially business traveling. When you go for a business meeting, it makes more sense to stay there and finish most of your work and gather more meetings and then move back to your base. So, what is the process when it comes to your products you follow? I know you
Mm.
source everything from India, but how does the entire organization work? So a little bit
Mm.
about that.
So in the background, what you don't see is a huge work that starts from analyzing raw materials.
Yeah.
So we go into depth on the raw materials, everything from water, ethical practices in general for that raw material. We try to use raw materials that are as transparent as possible. And then it's the production. We team up with social producers. There's also quite a lengthy process to select the right producers. We're a World Fair Trade Organization member, which means that we have a whole list of 10 principles and a lot of criteria to look into when choosing producers. We also design and develop the products. That's also a process in itself, because when ditching plastic and creating a product that is durable and recyclable, it's really a big challenge to design product in that way. And then
Yeah.
it's the logistics and supply chain in the end, where we really work on CO2 and reducing CO2 emissions.
Yeah.
We're also now setting up a social hub close in between Pune and Mumbai
Oh, wow.
for export of the products, and also domestic sales that we're going to go into in India, that we're going to go into in not that long. Yeah, so
Oh,
it's a lot happening, and it is really challenging to assure sustainability in the background. But I think for my team members, that
yeah.
is what makes it really valuable to work in Internationals as well, because that drive for sustainability, even though it's challenging, it's really rewarding.
Yeah. That's awesome. We look forward to having your products in India. Moving forward, like I said earlier as well, why is corporate sustainability so important? And
Mm.
how can businesses like, small businesses also be more sustainable and run more sustainable, successful businesses? So, what would you like to say for small businesses and corporates as well?
I think it's really about finding these synergies. Like, we have our sustainability synergy, but then you also have to find a synergy that connects to the financial and economics.
Mhm.
Because ultimately you have to be able to make money to run the company, and to really find these synergies that don't compromise with environment or society, but rather bring them with you.
Yeah,
Uh, and there's a lot of these circular solutions that also makes your operations cheaper,
yeah.
reduces costs using digital solutions, for example, innovations. So it's really about finding this and taking time to really think out those type of solutions.
Okay. Let's hear a little more about the products International has, and how do you go into the process of selecting these products. And so I believe shampoo bars is the way when we read about how to be sustainability in beauty, and most of the times you'll hear this is move over to shampoo bars. So what is
Mm.
your best selling product so far, or you're proud of? Yeah.
Yeah, so we started off with soap bars and shampoo bars, face washing bars. The reason we started with that is that it the conventional shampoo, let's say, is
Mm-hmm.
it has several elements with it. It's packaged in plastic.
Yeah.
It's often around 80% water, which means
Mm-hmm.
that obviously more CO2 from transport. It also means that you have to put conservatives in it because the water gets bacterial.
Yeah.
Uh, and often it's, very mass produced and not really natural products in general. So that's why we started with the shampoo bars, since we can have them all natural. They last for like they're equivalent of 1 to 2 bottles of liquid shampoo.
Yeah.
They're basically no water in them. And our shampoo bars are also quite unique because they're probiotic. So actually,
Mm-hmm.
good bacteria has been added into them, which is both good for the scalp and hair and the skin,
Yeah.
and also good for the water when they're washed out. When when they go down the drain, these small bacteria, they will actually eat up chemicals and bad bacteria that we don't want in the water. So they will be good for us and our skin, and when they leave the drain, they will continue doing good job in the water systems. Mm.
Interesting, interesting. So that's so now I know when you say sustainability or sustainable business, there's a lot of thought which has to
Mm.
go. It's not only about making the product, but even when people are using the product and then disposing the product off. So this is a long cycle. Is there
Mm.
a process which the businesses have to follow? Is there a framework, a certification, or something like that?
There's not really, well, in Europe now, there's new rules on openness coming in. But to be completely honest, these rules are quite, like, compared to where we're at, for example, they won't really change that much. But that's framework and regulations that coming in. And, there's also coming in CO2 frameworks in Europe. So definitely are coming in more, but I don't know how much it will actually change it. We have decided to become members of World Fair Trade Organization, and that
Yeah.
gives us a lot of things to follow, a lot of frameworks, and our whole organization and structure has to be put into that framework with both social and environmental aspects. So yeah.
So just one more question again with this, because when we talk about framework, is there a way or is there a body which monitors when these goals will be achieved? Because I know there's a timeline for 2030.
Hmm.
But is there some body which is monitoring how the businesses work, or it's just a little still under process?
No, I think a lot of companies are using the Sustainable Development Goals kind of here and there, and not really any set way of using it. You definitely have companies that are kind of using them in their marketing, but not really in their operations, and that's where it goes horribly wrong and becomes greenwashing
Yeah.
when companies activate their marketing department to really use the Sustainable Development Goals, but don't do the actual change in their operation. So there's not any kind of set framework or certification on claiming that one is working to achieve these goals. But United Nations are, writing reports about the progress to reach them. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was great to have this chat with you. Before we end, I would just like to tell everyone about the process, how we got in touch with you, how our jury chose you. So I had heard about your brand through a friend of mine in Oslo, and she just said that this is a company where I work, where they are into natural living. And this was, I think, in 2019, just before the pandemic hit
Mm.
us. And when we are looking out for nominations, we as a team gather and look at all the amazing work people like you do in healing people and the earth, of course, because that's our theme for this year. And that's when we collated all your data, went through your website, went through your work, and presented the entire framework to our jury. And the jury then said, yes, this is something which can go under the category of sustainable lifestyle product. And here you are. I would like to thank all the brands who have made the Restore Awards possible. I will begin with Savlon India, SRL Care, Organic India, Radio City, Fiamma India, Derma Feek, Himalaya India, the Alna Store, and Mao Creations. Thank you, Frederick, so much for joining us for this live, and I hope to see you on the 11th of December under the category representing Indo-Naturals for Sustainable Product Lifestyle. All the best for your future endeavors, and we look forward to seeing you market in India soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, you can just cross on the screen. I will just say thank you to our viewers then.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a great evening.
Bye-bye.
So that was Frederick joining us from the Himalayas, basically based in Oslo, but he's in India right now. The Restore Awards helps people recognize their amazing work which they do in the healthcare category sustainability initiatives. You can find the nomination form in our bio. The categories are Sustainable Product Lifestyle, Sustainability Vision Organization, Health Warrior Beyond Limits, Health Innovator of the Year Individual, Pioneering Health Social Enterprise, Healing Home Chef, Healer Beyond Boundaries, Medical Pandemic Health Warrior. If you or any of your known person who works in the above mentioned fields, please nominate themselves or yourselves. The link is in our bio, and we hope to receive your nominations. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you tomorrow with yet another live. Thank you. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.